You know that feeling, right? That worry that your brain is getting a bit older. Maybe you're forgetting things, or you just feel a little slower on the uptake. It's a really common fear. But what if the real enemy of a sharp mind isn't the number of years you've been alive? What if it's actually something we all do every single day without even thinking about it? Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to uncover the real reason our brains can start to feel old. And spoiler, it's probably not what you're thinking. Then we're going to zoom way in, down to the microscopic level to meet the tiny cells that run the whole show. After that, we'll zoom back out to tour the brain's main command center. And finally, the best part, we'll tie it all together with some real, practical ways to keep your mind feeling young and sharp.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. What's the real villain when it comes to our brains feeling older? Well, the answer might just make you rethink your entire daily schedule.
And boom, here it is. This quote says it all. See, when our lives become too predictable, same commute, same tasks, same conversations, our brain basically kicks into low-power mode. It's like, oh, this again? I know how to do this. And it just runs the old familiar programs. It stops building new pathways. And over time, just like a muscle you never use, it gets weaker. So the big idea here is that routine, not time, is what makes a brain old. Okay, so that brings us to the most important question, doesn't it? If doing the same thing over and over is the problem, what's the solution? Well, to really understand the fix, we first have to understand how the machine is built. We need to look at the wiring.
So let's start small. I mean, really small. To figure out how to build new roads in our brain, we've got to first understand what those roads are made of. Let's meet the star of the show.
Everybody, meet the neuron. These are the brain's information messengers. Think of them as tiny little couriers, constantly zipping around, carrying signals that create every single thought, memory, and feeling you've ever had. They're the fundamental building block of you.
And here's what one looks like. See those little branch-like fingers on one end? Those are called dendrites. They're like the neuron's ears. They receive messages. That signal then goes to the main cell body, which processes it and then, whoosh, sends it shooting down that long tail called the axon to pass the message on. So the most important thing to get here is that information flows in a one-way street. It comes in through the dendrites, gets processed in the middle, and goes out through the axon to the next neuron in the chain. It is an incredibly slick and efficient system. But get this, the neurons don't work alone. Not even close. They have this massive support team called glial cells. If neurons are the rock stars of the brain, glial cells are the roadies, the security, the engineers. They do all the crucial behind-the-scenes work. In fact, there are way more of them than there are neurons.
And one of their most important jobs is to create something called the myelin sheath. You can see it here wrapped around that long axon. The absolute best way to think about it is like the plastic insulation on an electrical cord. Its whole purpose is to keep the electrical signal strong and prevent it from leaking out.
And this is where it gets super clever. Because of that insulation, the nerve signal doesn't just flow smoothly down the wire. Instead, it literally jumps from one gap in the insulation to the next. This makes the signal travel ridiculously fast, way faster than it would otherwise. It's the reason you can pull your hand from a hot stove before you even consciously register the pain. Okay, so we've looked through the microscope at the individual wires and their support crew. Now, let's zoom all the way out and take a look at the headquarters, where all this incredible stuff happens. Let's talk about the cerebrum.
This is the big one. The cerebrum is that classic wrinkly part of the brain you always see in pictures. It's split right down the middle into two halves, or hemispheres. And then each of those hemispheres is divided into 4 main zones, or lobes, and each one has its own special set of responsibilities. So, right up front, behind your forehead, you've got the frontal lobe. This is the CEO of your brain. It's in charge of all the high-level stuff, planning your day, making tough decisions, solving tricky problems, and it's a huge part of what makes up your unique personality. Then, moving back a bit, you have the parietal lobe. This is your brain's navigation system. It takes in all the sensory info like touch, temperature, and pain, and uses it to build a mental map of your body and the space around you. It's the reason you can walk through a dark room without bumping into everything. Now, all the way at the back of your head is the occipital lobe. This part has one job, and one job only: vision. It's a total specialist. Every single thing you see with your eyes gets sent back here to be decoded and turned into the rich visual world we all live in. And last but not least, tucked in on the sides, right by your temples, are the temporal lobes.
These are absolutely critical for processing sounds, understanding what people are saying, and this is a big one, for creating and storing your long-term memories. And if you look at a map like this, you can see it's even more complex. Within each of those big lobes are all these little specialized neighborhoods for things like moving your hands or understanding grammar. But the amazing part is, they aren't working in isolation. They are all constantly talking to each other, working together in this beautiful, seamless network.
Okay, we've done the biology lesson, we've seen the wires and toured the command center. Now for the really good part. How do we take all this knowledge and actually use it to fight off that brain-aging monotony we started with?
Here's the punchline of this whole thing. It all comes back to the neurons. A young, vibrant brain is a brain that's always building new connections, new pathways. And the only way to get it to do that is to give it new problems to solve. We have to purposefully break our routines.
So how do we actually do this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Number 1, learn something new and challenging. Pick up a guitar. Try learning Spanish, something that forces your brain to build new skills from the ground up. 2, seek out new experiences. This can be big, like traveling, or super small, like just taking a different way home from work. And 3, talk to new people. Engage with ideas that challenge what you already think.
And this isn't just some nice idea, it's pure biology. When you do something new, you are physically forcing your neurons to grow new connections. And get this, that process releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical, which basically rewards your brain for learning. It makes you want to do it again. The end result is a brain that's more flexible, learns faster, and it's just plain healthier.
So, at the end of the day, keeping your brain young isn't really about buying expensive supplements or playing brain games on your phone. It's about a choice. It's about having the courage to be a beginner again, to step outside what's comfortable, and to stay curious about the world.
So I'm going to leave you with a challenge, not for next year or next month. For this week, what is one new thing, it can be tiny, that you will do this week to break your routine and give your brain that little jolt of novelty it's craving? The power to build a younger brain is right there, waiting for you to use it.